Welcome to the Brandon Lakey Show. Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome and good morning. Welcome to the Brandon Lakey Show, Compounding Communities. My name is Brandon Lakey. This show is brought to you by WealthWave, the How Money Works company, as well as Revolt Healthcare. So, it's been a wild week. We appreciate you guys joining us. So, we got a couple of guests today that I'm really excited about. But first, before we talk about that, I just want to welcome you to the show. We'll talk for a minute about why we created the show. And as you can see, we're running around. I'm even a little out of breath. It's been one of those wild mornings. And so juggling a lot of stuff. But I want you to know that I appreciate you taking a few minutes of your day to spend some time with us and to listen to our broadcast. You know, starting this show was part of a dream of mine to be able to really bring our communities together, harness the power of good people doing good things for people, thus creating better communities for all of us to live in and raise our families in. So, you know, that was the whole reason behind creating this show and wanting to be able to highlight people doing incredible things in our community. And that's what we've got today. You know, we've got two exciting guests that you'll be able to hear from. One being John from Hook and Barrel Magazine. So if you are a fan of the outdoors, you're a fan of even the outdoors lifestyle, the active lifestyle. You know, if you're a fan of any of that stuff, you'll really enjoy today's guest. And then also we've got the head of the Melissa Chamber of Commerce that is going to talk about all the things happening in Melissa. There's a ton of things happening, ton of growth on the north side of Dallas, where most of you are, a lot of you are. And so that's exciting stuff. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to have Bill on to talk about some of the things happening, maybe talk about a couple of the exciting new developments in the Melissa area. So with that being said, my name is Brandon Lakey. I'm a senior broker with WealthWave. And you guys know, if you've listened to any of my shows, you know we are the How Money Works company. I'm passionate about teaching people how to win the money game. That's what I do. I eat, sleep, and breathe this stuff, helping clients reach their goals through an educational system, an educational presentation. So that's what I do. That's my background when I'm not hosting radio shows. So with that being said, we got a couple of things happening, a couple of things that you can take advantage of. One being our How Money Works book. We've got several of them around here. Let me grab one here. Been giving them away and sending them out to people like hotcakes. Actually, looks like I gave the one that I had out, but that's okay. We've got our How Money Works books. This is an educational book. So if you would like to get a copy of this book, we'll send you one for free. I think they're 16 or 18 bucks on Amazon. We'll send you one for free and be happy to send you one of those as a guest, as a listener of our show. It's one of those books that's educational. It's written at about a 6th grade level, and it's designed to go through in about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. So it's something that you can certainly listen to or read, rather, not listen to. Next thing is we had such an incredible response to our last giveaway that we've decided to do another giveaway. And so we'll get that queued up on the screen here in a second. But the giveaway is going to be 2 nights and airfare, round trip airfare to one of 23 different destinations. You can choose. Of course, there's a list, but between 23 places, I'm sure there's a place that you'd want to go. And so we're going to do there's a couple of ways to qualify for this, but the easiest way is to reach out. And what we're going to do for this particular giveaway, this is going to be probably the last week we'll do this, maybe one more week. But if you reach out and schedule a 5-10 minute consultation with us. And when I say consultation, not in the way that you're thinking in terms of like bring your 401k statements. Literally, I'd love to meet you. I'd love to give you a How Many Works book. Just learn about who you are in the community, and show you one or two educational concepts that I believe will add value and potentially change the way you look at money altogether. It's not a sales pitch or anything like that, but it's just the ability for me to say hi, meet some people. As you know, some of my background, I grew up in the Houston area and just moved to lived in Austin for a while, but moved up to Melissa in August. So just a way for me to reach out, meet people, no obligation for you to do anything or buy anything. By the way, the trip itself, it's not a timeshare sales pitch or any of that either. So for those of you guys that you're sitting there with your eyebrow up, you're a little skeptical. You're like, I don't know if I'd want to do that. Hey, it's literally just a trip, airfare and hotel, just a fun way for me to meet people and a little bit of incentive to maybe push you over the edge, to reach out and say, hey, love to meet somebody that has an interest in helping you reach your goals. And that's really it. So that's what we've got going on today. My first guest, before I bring him on, this segment of our show being the outdoor segment, hopefully this is of interest to you. What I learned as I moved to the area, there was an outdoors show on the radio, on AM radio growing up that I listened to. And now certainly there's a few podcasts around, but there's not a ton of resources for people who love the outdoors, who love shooting sports, who love fishing and hunting and just the outdoor lifestyle. The outdoor culture has become a culture of its own, and one that I think has some of the best people in the world recognize nature, and they recognize the power that connecting with people in the outdoors, getting out, breathing fresh air, letting your bare feet touch the dirt. I think that's for a lot of people. We get in the hustle and bustle and you forget about how powerful that is. And so, people fly around the world. We fly around the world. We plan major vacations just to get out and escape some of the suburbia. But there's a lot of nature around us. There's a lot of really cool stuff within driving distance of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Is one of the things I was very excited about living in this area. I don't know exactly how many lakes John may know, but with that being said, I want to bring on John. He is with Hook and Barrel Magazine. And if you haven't seen Hook and Barrel Magazine, you probably will soon. I picked my first copy up at Cabela's here locally on the north side of Dallas. That Cabela's is, I don't know, Frisco or Plano or what the address is. But John, welcome to the show, man.
What's up, Brandon?
Awesome, man. Thank you for taking a few minutes. I know we tried to get you on a couple of weeks ago and you were just slumming it. What is it? Hawaii? You're barely making it?
It was first world problems on black sand beaches. So
yeah. No, it was it was pretty cool. Tell us a little bit about that trip. Just kind of an intro of what you guys just did. I know that was some cool stuff.
Yeah, it was an amazing trip. So my wife and I took a 12-day trip to the Big Island of Hawaii. Part of it was kind of for our own mental health, and then the other side of it really was for working on our 5-year anniversary issue coming up here next July, August. So we're just about to move into our September, October issue, but this past July, August was our 4-year anniversary. In the magazine publication business, we work well ahead of schedule, and something like this where it involves a lot of far-flung travel, getting out to Hawaii, doing some exotic things, kind of really required us to get well in advance of it, and it gave us a great excuse to escape to the islands. So
absolutely, nothing wrong with that. So tell us if our listeners have never heard of Hook and Barrel Magazine and the publication and what you guys are doing, give us a quick kind of synopsis of what is Hook and Barrel Magazine and what was the kind of the mission behind it.
Man, I'll make it really short and simple for you. It is a redneck GQ. That's what it is. And pretty much, I'll elaborate quickly on it, but pretty much I got tired of all of the men's health interest magazines kind of out there. And again, their stories weren't necessarily always changing. And a lot of the things that they covered were things that I necessarily didn't line up with my values. And so I got tired of all the political nonsense in them. And I'm like, listen, I don't wear suits anymore. And luckily I'm out of that 9-to-5 cubicle kind of job world. And I left that a long time ago. So I don't know why I kept reading stories about, fashion and that kind of stuff. And then the other outdoor magazines are great. And I love what they do, but the stories don't necessarily always change. And then there's like the really cool gun stories, but that just causes me to go out and try to buy, more stuff that I don't necessarily need. And they kind of really nerd out on all this very endemic information. And I thought to myself, why isn't there just a lifestyle and general interest magazine for guys like me? And I don't need, all of the outdoor celebrities on my cover. I want to talk about things that, I do in between the boats and the blinds. And so about 4 years ago, I set out on this mission. And quickly after that, my wife left her job and started working for the company. And her and I together have built this amazing brand that's now a national brand. Start off here in Texas, but it had always sights set on national. And so we built it from the very beginning and took a lot of I don't want to say losses, but we made a lot of hard decisions in the beginning about turning down certain aspects of business that was in front of us so that we never pigeonholed ourselves just here in Texas. And over the last 4 years, we now have subscribers from California to Maine. And everywhere in between, but still with a huge presence here in Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Arkansas. So you can pick it up at any Bass Pro Shops or Cabela's at the exits of the stores, free as you leave. So you picked yours up actually in Allen, probably.
Yep, that was it. Yep.
Allen, that's a great store for us. But if you're in any of those 4 states, you could pick it up there. Or like I always say, you're a money guy, right? If you go to Bass Pro Shops, right, how much money do you usually spend when you go in that store? It's like Walmart, at least $100, right?
Yeah, easy.
So $39.99, subscribe, have it come to your door 6 times a year. And if you're not in the Talo states, it's not in any of those Bass Pro Shops or Cabela's yet. So subscribe, have it come to your door. It's a lot cheaper than going to Cabela's anyway.
Yeah. If you think about it that way, that's absolutely true. It's tough to walk in there without spending $100, no doubt.
Absolutely.
So if my wife's listening, I don't do that, by the way. Every time I just browse, honey. Don't worry. I go there to pick up the Hook and Barrel magazine. And
yeah, exactly.
That is the truth.
You don't even go past the checkout counter. You just go right back out.
Exactly. Yeah. Just got to pick up the new magazine. So, but no, I was excited. The first time when I saw the magazine, I drove past it. I backed the cart up, and I asked the lady, I said, "Is this free?" And she's like, "Yeah, absolutely. Take one." And I'm like, in this day and age where everything has gone digital, and certainly we know that it's probably still going that direction, but kind of along the same lines of our How Many Works book, I really like the fact that there's still a print version it's sat underneath the center console of my truck. And there were several times where I'd be waiting at a doctor's appointment or something, hanging out, and I would grab it and I'm thumbing through it. And so that to me is really nice. I love the fact that I can, pick up a physical copy still.
Absolutely. No, they say print's dead. I just say they're just doing it wrong. You just got to do it better than the others, have better distribution, have better stories, and not charge an arm and a leg for a magazine. I mean, half the problem with these businesses is they've gotten so bureaucratic. It's like trying to turn an aircraft carrier a lot of times doing business with these folks. And with all that fat comes cost. And when you put all that in, that's why you're picking up a magazine for $10.99 an issue. That's crazy. Mm-hmm. So for us, we are advertising driven, but I also make sure that we have a very good mix. So you're not getting one of these magazines that are 60% ads, 40% content. We actually do it the opposite. We're about 66% content, 33% ads, and that's by design. Again, that's another one of those hard decisions you got to make. Yeah, you can get greedy. We can bring a bunch of people in, but then our readers are going to go, hey, this is just a big infomercial. Exactly. But yeah, so that's how you do it, man. And you just got to be greedy and you got to run a lean ship, but you could really run a successful magazine because people still love print. And one of the things when I was in Hawaii, bringing that up, is I looked around to see on the beach and by the pools, and there were still people reading books. I didn't see one Kindle. So I don't want to hear print is dead.
I agree with you. My wife and I were in the publishing business as well. It's actually a business that we just sold But she was the owner. We were the owners of the Book of Beautiful Weddings, and it was a wedding publication down in distribution, kind of from North Austin up to Waco in that area. And same thing, we found that really, the world, what I've learned, in my 37 years of wisdom is that, and actually I picked up some of this from a sociologist that our company brought in, but the world swings in these wild variables, right? Like, for example, for a while, the messaging was that you've got to go to four-year university, everyone without fail, no matter what, even the kid that would be one of the best welders in the world, that kid should not be a welder. He should go to a four-year university.
Yeah.
And it was that extreme. And then it swings the other way where people say, no, four-year college isn't for everyone. And we kind of swing in extremes. I think that same thing happened with the explosion of the internet and technology, people saying, wow, this is so cool. And it is cool. But at the same time, now, one of the things that you guys have, which same thing with our How Money Works book, is you have a unique aspect of that you do have a physical print. And that has become in itself rare, which is, I think, the pendulum has swung back to being more on the special side, where people are like, they really appreciate a hard copy of something.
Yeah, I mean, we still have our digital side, our digital magazine. You could go on, and if you put in your email and your name and location, you could get a free subscription to that. And you could also read all the articles blog style. But at the end of the day, like sorry, I didn't mean to turn on my flashlight. But at the end of the day, we get tired of scrolling on these things. Our eyes burn. Like, we just want to look at a piece of paper. And frankly, from a business standpoint, you need to have a foundation to kind of hang your hat on. And if you don't have a physical product for the most part, I memean, how are you ever going to build off of that other than just this internet dream? And so unless you're like the Chive or like Barstool Sports,
right.
I don't know.
Yeah. Unique platforms there for sure.
That's definitely
very cool. I know you guys are also very active in the community, and you've got a lot of stuff going on. Share with me some of the things that you guys have been doing lately, or even stuff that you've got coming up that are things you're passionate about.
Yeah. So at Hook and Barrel, we always try to look for organizations that are giving back and work with those kind of people. Things that I don't say struggle with, but one of the things we have to be cognizant of is when we are talking about different charities, they have to be kind of national brands. And along with that also comes the vetting process of those national brands. Are they actually doing what they say they're doing? So we work really hard to find those kind of things. So on like a hyper local level, we attend events, we go to those things because obviously we live here in North Texas. But on a national level, recently we've worked with Brett Michaels Foundation, who does a lot of things for kids with diabetes. He does work all around the United States. He just was on the cover of our July-August issue. In the past, we've also worked with, Luke Bryan's foundation. We've worked with other organizations, like one's called Shoot Like a Girl, which teaches girls how to get into the firearm sports.
That's awesome.
We've worked with a lot of bigger groups, and a lot of them kind of tie into our celebrity cover. But we've also worked with, the National Memorial for the Global War on Terror, and those that lost their lives in Iraq and Afghanistan. And working with those guys, they're lobbying in DC to actually build a monument for those that lost their lives there. And so those are the kind of organizations we work with, these larger national ones, because I just can't send out a magazine to the entire United States about a hyper local chapter of some charity, if that makes sense. So
yeah, absolutely. And that's what's what I've learned is that to make a big difference, it's very expensive. It is crazy expensive when you start looking at some of these nonprofits, not-for-profit type organizations, and if they're trying to affect change. I stumbled upon a little girl that was battling childhood cancer. This girl, his name is Jocelyn, and was following that story, and then through that got connected with some of the organizations that are battling childhood cancer. And you just start looking at how expensive some of this stuff is.
Yeah,
I agree with what you're saying, because I do the same thing. I certainly support local organizations, but at the same time, knowing that it's going to be some of these big organizations that they're going to have to operate at that kind of level to affect big change.
Yeah, I think it's about also continuing mission, right? And so I see a lot of these hyper local organizations get involved in one group, and then the next benefit or beneficiary is a little bit harder. And then after that, and then 10 years down the line, now they're kind of like grabbing at straws. So the hyper ones, like, let's fix what you need to do. And then maybe just, I think a lot of people, it kind of becomes who they are personally to run this organization. These national ones, one of two things happen. Either they become really, really great and they help a whole lot of people and that momentum builds. And you're right, it costs a ton of money. I mean, just PR and marketing alone costs a ton of money, but all that builds, recognize, a brand that's recognized, and it takes a lot of money to get on the news and do all that kind of stuff. Or the other unfortunate thing that happens is they just become these behemoths that just, 90% spent on admin costs and 10% actually go back to the cause, which are things we don't support. So, yeah, I agree with you.
Yep, that's awesome. That's awesome. And so, how long are you from the North Texas area? Where are you and your wife from?
Well, we're both originally from Pennsylvania. She's from Pittsburgh. I'm from the northeastern part of the state, near Scranton. So if you've ever watched The Office, that store is based right next to where I grew up. None of those things are there. There are not sushi restaurants everywhere and all that. But anyway, that's where we're both from. We moved down here about 14 years ago in 2008. We moved down here essentially.
Right. So honorary Texans at this point.
Hey, I always, people are like, man, you ain't Texan. I'm like, well, I'm more Texan than you. You were born in Texas. And they kind of look at me and like, if you look at true Texans, they all moved here for a better life. They're all from somewhere else, right? And that was kind of like me. And so I moved down here for a better life, to parts unknown, to forge my own way. So I always rib back that way, but that doesn't hold up in a Texas court anymore.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. I've got some family through my grandparents, through some of the German side of my family that came in through Pennsylvania.
Oh yeah.
And so a lot of history in that area. That's pretty cool. It's a lot of people, obviously, you really start looking back generationally, came through some of those ports and, migrated down to Texas, and now we're Texans. So,
right.
Well, that's awesome. Let me ask you this. In terms of the magazine, what segment would you say, because I know you got celebrities, you got food and drink, music, there's obviously destinations, the trophy room stuff is really cool. What's the one that's like your favorite?
Oh man, gosh, it varies by issue. The celebrity stuff is really exciting, but a lot of the time those guys kind of get on autopilot with their interviews. I like to get those celebrities that are on the rise, or on the decline of their careers. And the reason I say that's on the rise, they're really hungry. They're so passionate. And then on the decline, a lot of people are like, oh, they're now, you always know when a performer's kind of trickling off, they start playing the casinos rather than the big stadiums. But those guys have been through so much life, they have wisdom. And so I always like to talk to those guys and learn that wisdom. A lot of times when you're at the peak of your career, you're just stuck in the limelight. You're not really seeing what's going on. And those guys, they're great. I love them. Where I get the most value are the guys that are just clawing their way to the top and what they're learning, and the guys that are kind of now passing that legacy on to the new guys. And so those are the type of guys I like the most. Nice.
That's really cool. Yeah. You said something there that jumped out at me, which is, the wisdom, you look at some of the stories that have even come out of these guys that have been in the industry. Those guys have some wild stories. Yeah. And that in itself, to me, can be very entertaining. Well, that's really cool. Well, tell us what's the future for Hook and Barrel? What's some cool stuff coming up? Stuff you guys are excited about, or future for the company? What do you see there?
Man, we're working on a lot of things right now. A lot of stuff that I don't want to exactly get into, but what I can tell you
is us a little though. We'll let you listen. It would just be between us girls.
Yeah. Well, Hook and Barrel itself, like I said, is kind of the foundation of the brand, right? So we're looking at Hook and Barrel travel ideas. We're currently right now building with partners, a few other couples up in Broken Bow, Oklahoma. We're building cabins, so trying to do like an outdoor lifestyle endorsed. If you've ever been to like an Orvis endorsed property, we're kind of trying to get into a little bit of that on a much smaller scale. We even started making t-shirts. We don't really sell them outside of trade shows, but we're using the main brand to build other, ancillary businesses. But realistically, my main mission is to continue to grow this thing, get into more stores, get further out there, more and more subscribers. Because with subscribers come the advertising dollars. That's what advertisers want. They want to see how many hands and eyes are going to be on this publication. So realistically, I try not to get distracted by all these other opportunities out there, all these other business models. I'll dabble in them to see which ones work, because I never want to turn down an opportunity. But at the same time, I know what my core mission is and what my core money maker is, and that's distribution. And so that's always my focus. I'm always trying to find ways to get the magazine just further.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it was one of those things that I had not heard of, but after talking to a couple of people in the area, a lot of people were like, oh yeah, and everybody spoke highly of you. And so that you were, you guys were awesome. I forgot to ask you, do you guys have kids or no?
We have one. We have a 2-year-old. His name is Jack. So.
That's right. You did mention that. That's right. Very cool.
Yeah.
And then, and so you guys, you've got kids, you live in our local community. So one of the things that was really important to me with our show was to have some local people in the community, so that now if you're running around and you pick up a copy of Hook and Barrel, you're like, oh yeah, that now I heard the radio show, I heard John, and you know a little bit about the company, and you've got that personal connection. I think that's a lost art, or a lost thing that happens when cities grow, like our area is growing. And so, man, I appreciate you coming on the show. Anything else that you kind of want to, shout out in terms of upcoming stuff, and, give you the floor for a second to talk about, whatever you want to say.
Well, 2 things. One, most importantly, is our new September-October issue just hit mailboxes and is about to hit the Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's around the area. It features Mike Wolf from American Pickers on the cover. So great there. And it's our bow hunting. It is our preseason whitetail issue, but there's a lot of other great things in there. And there's a lot of stuff on elk hunting and Western hunting in there as well, as that continues to grow. But also, I guess the last thing is I kind of like what you hit on about the community side of things. First off, if you ever see me out in one of the stores, I still stock those stores. I still get, even though I'm the editor and owner of the company, I'm still there with a box cutter stocking those stores, because I like to see what's going on. Say hello. A lot of times people, will find out I'm the editor and not say hello and be like intimidated by it, which is crazy in my mind. But I guess I've worked with other editors in the past, and I could see why other people, they act like they're unapproachable. I don't get it, but me, I'm an open book. So always reach out and say hi. You can follow us on Instagram at Hook and Barrel Mag. Feel free to DM us. That kind of is my social media platform. So I'm the one that usually runs it, and I always check those DMs. So you could hit us up there. You could always email editor@hookandbarrel.com if you have any questions. Or, if you see me out, just stop. I mean, I'm generally wearing a Hook and Barrel shirt or a Hook and Barrel hat, or you can't miss my truck. It's Hook and Barrel on the side of it. It's a big overlanding truck. If I cut you off on 75, I'm sorry. It's a big truck. I can't always see my blind spots, but so don't get upset about that. But no, feel free, come up, ask questions, hit me up with questions about deer hunting. We hunt in southeastern Oklahoma in the Kiamichi Mountains, so I get a lot of people that hunt in that area are trying to figure it out. So
you guys have a few bear up there.
Biggest takeaway, yeah, there's tons of bear. The biggest takeaway is go to hookbarrel.com, subscribe, follow us on social media. And if you ever see me out or you have any questions, there's ways to contact me. Hit me up. I personally answer just about. It's completely off the wall crazy. Heck, it's crazy. I got a handwritten letter on loose leaf mailed to me, which is strange, but it was also folded up like one of those little ones you get passed back to you. We've gone, outside of a pigeon landing on my windowsill with a note tied to its leg. I've gotten just about every other form, and I always try to answer back. So feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Well, hey man, I appreciate you taking some time. 11:29. Told you we'd have you out of here. He's a busy man. He's got to go get he's got stuff done. So we'll let you go. John, thank you again for taking some time, man. It was great having you on the show.
Thanks, Brandon. You have a blessed day.
Absolutely. You too. Yep. Good luck to you guys. You guys go pick up a copy of of Hook and Barrel. I'm telling you, I was impressed. I picked up the magazine, didn't really know what to think about it. And as I flipped through, I thought, this is really cool. His description of like a redneck GQ, that I couldn't have said it better myself. That's really, it's a lot of lifestyle stuff, which I think for a lot of us, the fact of the matter is we'd love to be on the lake. We'd love to be out in the outdoors. We'd love to do that every weekend, but we can't necessarily be out that often. So being able to kind of, be plugged into the lifestyle in some ways, give you a little escape from the traffic and the 9 to 5 and the grind on 75. So with that being said, I want to talk about something that may or may not shock you, which is a lot of you right now are being taken advantage of. And you might say, whoa, what are you talking about? What do you mean? In what way? Well, listen, there are lots of industries right now that are profiting off of the lack of your education. They are profiting off of the lack of specifically your financial IQ. So if you hadn't heard that before today, sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but it is an absolute fact that there are a lot of companies and industries that are counting on you staying uninformed. And so there's a reason why we named our book, How Money Works, Stop Being a Sucker. That's the name of the book. It's Stop Being a Sucker. And so if you want a copy of that book, you're going to learn several things in there it's going to future proof you from ever being taken advantage of and help you be knowledgeable about all things financial and insurance related. And so it's written in comic book form. It's actually pretty entertaining. There's several little jokes, little chuckles in there that I think you will like. So reach out to us, hashtag compounding communities, hashtag the difference, either one, on any of the platforms you're listening to this show on. We'll reach out. We'll ask you for $75 for shipping. No, just kidding. We're not going to ask you for anything. We'll ship you a copy for free. And, and if you just learn one or two things out of that book, then we've accomplished our mission of helping change the financial literacy of you and your life. And here, I truly believe that learning and growing your financial IQ, that can set you and set your entire family on a totally different trajectory. Imagine if you picked up one little nugget of knowledge and you applied that to your life, and the compounding effect of that 10, 20 years from now, you could be in a totally different place than you would have been just through increasing your financial IQ, right? And so obviously two things there. One, knowledge is power, but knowledge is useless if it's not applied, right? So really applied knowledge is power. And that's what we want to try to empower our listeners with via the How Money Works book. So don't be taken advantage of. You got to ask yourself, do you truly believe that the companies out there, the credit card companies, some of these different companies that you work with, do you truly believe they're operating with your best interest at heart? Or are they trying to make the max amount of money on you as possible? Or are they trying to profit as much off of you as humanly possible? Or are they sitting there thinking, how can we help families in Plano, Texas? I think we all know the answer to that. And so this book is going to help you not be taken advantage of. So reach out. Be happy to get you a free copy. With that being said, we're gonna transition to our quick compounding community segment. Compounding community segment is brought to you by WealthWave, the How Money Works company. And there's two things happening right now that directly affect you. One of which being that there's some quickly evolving legislature that is working its way down the pipe that is in the category of taxation. So I'm sure we all love paying our taxes. Here's what I say about taxes. I don't mind paying my fair share of taxes, but I don't want to pay my unfair share, right? If I can, we need to have schools and roads and all the beautiful things, but if I can pay my fair share, that's great. But if I can minimize my taxation, the number that matters is not how much you make, it's how much you keep. That's the real true number. So there's two things happening that you need to be aware of. You can Google both of these if you want to read about them. But first is that there's an infrastructure package that is working its way through. And in this $1 trillion infrastructure package, It's 2,700 pages. It includes a pilot program that will essentially introduce a vehicle mileage tax. What does that mean? Well, that means that you will potentially pay per mile driven anywhere in the United States, a vehicle mileage tax. And so, the pitch is that this is going to help raise revenue for transportation and infrastructure projects. But, I don't know how many of you love driving on toll roads, but essentially turning the entire United States into toll roads. So if this is something that you support, wonderful. But if it's something you don't support, this is one of these things where you probably want to be active in your conversations with your congressman, active in conversations with people that are in political power in your areas, because this stuff is coming. And so that's something that could massively change the landscape of the United States. Second thing under the category of taxation that you need to know is there is a potential plan right now that may end up targeting your retirement accounts, your 401ks, right? The holy grail, what most of you have. And it's a plan to eliminate the 401k tax deduction. Now, yes, you heard that right. A plan to eliminate the 401k tax deduction. And so 401ks in recent years, not counting the pandemic, have in general had good growth, in some cases double-digit rates of return. So Fidelity is reporting they're seeing a 24% jump in 401k balances in their accounts. And so that's a good thing, but it's caught the eyes of lawmakers. And sometimes they're on your side and sometimes they're a bit greedy and they see dollars. And so what we're seeing is some plans to talk about eliminating tax deductions for your 401k contributions and potentially replacing those with a tax credit. The general opinion is that the proposal is meant to help tax the rich and to try to distribute that. The fear is that it could go a little overboard and it could not just help lower income at the expense of rich Americans. The middle class could get caught up in this as well. And that's a kind of a popular opinion of people that are really taking a look at this thing. So the other potential problem in the proposal is that if states don't comply, and now we're seeing a lot of stuff where states aren't complying with stuff. So if states don't comply with these proposals, taxpayers could potentially be taxed twice, once when they contribute to their 401k and then once when they withdraw the money. And so the effort was kind of to create a better balance between the rich and the poor. But, lawmakers, the way it's written, it's almost like maybe leaving out a little bit of the middle class, and they could be affected. So at the moment, there are no Senate Republicans that have voiced support for the plan. If you support it, that's awesome. If you don't, again, probably want to be in contact with your legislators. And this is something to stay aware of. Now, if what I just said over the last 2 minutes or so all sounded like completely a different language and it's stuff that totally is of uninterest to you, hopefully you haven't turned this off at that point. But here's the big summary. Having a financial professional that's watching this stuff, paying attention to this, and that has your best interest, has a responsibility to help you make the best decisions and keep as much money of your money as possible is valuable. And so that's one of the things I do, looking at this stuff, paying attention to how this is going to affect your money and working for you on your side to help you keep as much money as possible and grow your money and have all the different strategies in place that you need to have. So with that being said, our next guest is going to be from the Melissa Chamber of Commerce. And so when we talk about Chamber of Commerces, there are lots of Chamber of Commerces. And some of you, maybe you've heard of a Chamber of Commerce, maybe you haven't. But the Chamber of Commerces are in our area, and they are really designed to help grow a community, really designed to help small to medium businesses grow. And so if you're new to the area, I would encourage you to get in contact with your local Chamber of Commerce. We've got the executive director of the Melissa Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Bill Jones. Bill, you out there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Awesome. Well, thank you for hanging out. I'm excited to have you talk about, what awesome things you guys are doing. So first, I guess, tell us a little bit about yourself, Bill. How long have you been in the community? I know you're kind of, you've been running the chamber for a while. Tell us about that.
I've been in Melissa. We moved into our house that we had built in 2013. I had retired in Bonham, Texas, and so was planning on playing a lot of golf and so forth. And some people found out about me. In fact, I made a call to the Chamber of Commerce looking for somebody to fix my blower. And she asked me why I called the chamber. And I said, well, I've been in chamber work for almost 40 years. And that's where everybody calls to find out everything. So she asked if I'd be interested in a part-time job. And I got talked into that. And of course, we worked it into pretty much a full-time job now. But it's exciting times in Melissa, Texas right now. When I moved here in 2013, the population was just under 5,000. And we right now are approaching 20,000. And probably by the end of the year, we'll surpass that. And we're starting to see a lot of commercial growth. And the chamber has been a big part of a lot of that. And we're seeing a lot of people move from what they call the big cities, Plano and Allen and Fairview and Frisco, and moving to the country in Melissa, because we still do have a friendly country style type lifestyle in Melissa. We have fantastic schools, some of the top ranked schools in the state, and we still have a community. We do a lot of things for the community through the chamber, and the city does a lot of things for the chamber. City is building some great parks and trails, hiking trails. So there's a lot of exciting things going on. The Melissa Area Chamber of Commerce, as we actually are noted, and we have a lot of members that don't have a Melissa address. They're people, they're businesses that many of them actually live in Melissa, but have a business somewhere else. But a lot of them are businesses just trying to get into the Melissa market, which right now is a very vital market and a growing market. And so we have, our membership is way too cheap, but we do a lot of things that allow our members to communicate with the community. Our annual banquets theme is bridging business and community, and that's something that we try very hard to do, is connect the businesses with the community. We have networking luncheons every month. We have an annual banquet coming up October the 30th, where we have a lot of people gather, and it's a great networking opportunity. We have some benefits with our chamber. We have a program where the chambers can actually access help to grow their business and to help with things that they're having trouble with their business. We also have a community guidebook that comes out annually that has actually the only printed map that's in existence of Melissa, Texas, and that's very vital. Of course, by the time we get it printed, it's up. We update it, and by the time it gets printed, it's already out of date because of the new roads, new subdivisions that have come in, and we've got a lot of those. Right now, you can still buy a house get more square footage per dollar than you can in Plano, Allen, Fairview, Frisco, and Dallas. Of course, the price of homes has definitely risen, as everybody's homes have risen, but we're still under the market in those particular areas. So a lot of people are taking advantage of that. We have a lot of new businesses moving in. Some of them are still having trouble getting open, getting equipment, getting the construction done. The pandemic has hurt some of our growth. It has hurt a lot of things in the area, but hopefully even though we're not getting out of it hospitalization wise, people are tired of being in, and people have started getting out again, and so our businesses are thriving, and it's been surprising. We got a Buc-ee's about 2 or 3 years ago, and that's been a big asset to the area. And since that time, we've seen a growth of a lot of new and varied type businesses, including restaurants and these sort of things, some retail and so forth. And of course, it's a fantastic business climate right now. One, because of the number of people that are coming to the area. Our mayor just informed me the other day that we're getting 3 new families per day in Melissa. So that's almost unheard of, and I don't know how we're accommodating that with the slowdown in building that we're having, but we're still getting that. So if it wasn't hard to build a home right now and expensive, we might be getting 4 or 5. But we've got a lot of good things going on. We've got a lot of things going on with the Melissa Area Chamber of Commerce that connects the community with businesses, our businesses with the community, and a lot of good opportunities for the businesses to promote their business through the chamber. And we are staying on top of all the legislative things that are happening. And as you mentioned just a while ago, there are a few things that's happening, or that's possibly happening out there in the legislature, both state and federal, that are going to affect not only our individuals, but also our businesses. So we're keeping a close eye on that and keeping in touch with all of our legislators and those others that we can reach, and trying to tame some of that down, actually. Mm-hmm. But we're excited about Melissa. We're excited about the future of Melissa. I think we haven't seen anything close to the growth that we're going to have in the next probably 5 to 10 years. So it is a great place to start a new business. It's a great place to bring your business that exists and expand into the area, because one, we've got a group of people now that have moved from areas that had a lot of businesses, and even though they're moving to the area because we're kind of in the country, they think they want those amenities. So they're wanting a new grocery store there, and we're hopefully about to get one. They're wanting all these retail spaces that they don't have to travel to. We were delayed a little bit in some of our commercial growth because we're bordered on the south by McKinney and bordered very closely on the north by Anna, and so people were overlooking us to go to those 2 places, and now we're finally being recognized as a viable business community.
Absolutely. Well, for me, when I joined, or when we started looking at North Dallas, we looked around at all the different places, McKinney, Frisco. I've got friends that a lot of friends in McKinney and Plano areas, business partners and stuff like that. And, we stumbled upon Melissa because we were looking around at some houses in the McKinney area, and we drove up from Belton, where we moved from, which is just north of Austin, south of Waco. We drove up and looked at a couple of houses, and I'm telling you what, backyards that you could touch, from arm to arm, you could touch, just small. And when you started looking at the square footage and what you were paying per square foot, it was some of the numbers were just astronomical. And you think, man, there's not even room. You couldn't even put a swing set back here in these little tiny backyards. And so, looking at raising a family, we started searching around for large one-story houses. We didn't necessarily want to have stairs and have to climb stairs. And so we stumbled upon Melissa kind of by accident. And my father-in-law is a superintendent of schools down in Central Texas. And we mentioned Melissa, and he said, oh my gosh. And he went on and on about how great the schools were and what he knew about the community. And so we stumbled upon the Liberty subdivision and found a plan that we fell in love with, and we were able to build a house out here. And to your point, from a square footage standpoint, got a lot more for our money. And it's funny how people say, oh man, you're way up in Melissa. And I say, oh yeah, one whole exit past McKinney. Absolutely. Yeah, we're way up there, and so it's funny. I think people think we're way far up north, but I mean, it was literally another 2 minutes down 75, and to get so much more for your money. And certainly to your point, Bill, more of a little smaller town feel, trees and not quite as much concrete. And I tell you, my favorite thing about Melissa has been the community. We have met the nicest people in general. Everyone is, especially a lot of us that moved in. We moved in during August during the pandemic. And so, everybody is kind of looking to make friends and to connect with people. But there for a while, we were all shut in and couldn't really do that. And so the sense of community, even just on our street, we're so blessed and so lucky that there are so many incredible people that live around us, and people always willing to lend a hand. I love that about a small community. And so that's something, again, one of the reasons why I started the show, one of the reasons why I share this show in different Melissa and Anna area Facebook groups, is because I really want to keep that sense of community. And so, Bill, one of the things that as I was doing some homework about you, I see that you've been, 30 years in economic development and in that industry.
Yeah,
If you, this
is actually my 47th year.
47th, man, my research was outdated. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So our last guest, John, mentioned that he really loved interviewing people that have kind of been through careers and had that wisdom. And so I want to try to pick your brain a little bit in that category of wisdom. If you're a small business or you're just trying to get going, what we know is most people's businesses don't fail because of a bad product or because they're a bad person. Most businesses fail because people simply don't know they exist. What advice would you give to someone moving into our community that maybe thinking about moving into our community? What advice would you give for them to be successful from a small to medium business standpoint?
Well, the biggest problem with a small business, especially mom and pop type business, is that the business owns them instead of them owning the business. So they don't get out, they don't have the number of employees they need where they can get out and go to like our luncheons and see other people and tell other people about their business. They don't know a lot about marketing, and they don't know a lot about financing. So every business needs a good marketing person, and they need a good accountant. Now, this is not an accountant that keeps books. It's an accountant that can give them an idea of, if they do this, if they spend this amount of money, they're going to get this return out of it. So that's some of the things. That's a new program that we've started, is where small businesses can, through the chamber, they're a member of this organization. It's called the McCraw Council, and they can access help for their business. They can access marketing help, accounting help, and how to get employees, how to keep employees. And of course, right now, that's a big factor in business. One, getting employees. We used to say it's hard to find good employees. Now it's hard to find employees, period. And good ones are almost non-existent. So there's a lot of things about business, and I've been I've been fortunate to be in some places where we've seen tremendous growth. I started in McAlester, Oklahoma with a economic development organization that covered all of southeastern Oklahoma. And from there, I went to the Grand Lake Association, which covered that area. We were an economic development organization and a pseudo chamber of commerce, so to speak. From there, I went to Branson, Missouri in the 80s, and I saw the boom that we had in the early 90s and early to mid 90s, and helped create part of that. I don't get much of the credit. I get all the blame for helping do that. So I've seen what it takes, what the indicators are for growth. And one of those indicators are marketing. When we were in Branson, Missouri, there was no such thing as internet. Okay. So it was all print, as John said earlier, but we started contacting people because they would find out that the population of Branson, Missouri was 3,500 people. On a bad day, there was 100,000 people in town. So wow. On a good day, there was 500,000 or more in town. So we started going to different locations and to different businesses in other places and giving them some of these numbers that they had no way to access. So here in Melissa, we had started our community guidebooks talks about it being a great place for business. And we've approached some people, and some people have approached us, and we've tried to sell them on the fact that even though there's only filling stations here and a couple of restaurants in Melissa, that makes it a really great place because the leakage, which is money spent other places from Melissa people, was over $500,000. So, or over $500 million, not $500,000, but $500,000. Wow. And so, because a lot of our people that live in Melissa now are higher middle income or and above, and the median household income is pretty well up there. So they have a lot of money that they can spend and need to spend. So there wasn't a place in Melissa to spend it. So now we're starting to convince some people that they need to be here so people can spend their money in Melissa. It's interesting because when they lived in Plano or Frisco or Dallas or whatever, they oftentimes drove 10 or 15 miles to go to the grocery store or go to the mall or go to the dress shop or whatever. But here they were having trouble driving 6 miles to go to McKinney or Anna to find the same thing. So we're starting to get some of those amenities in Melissa. And I saw when I moved here and took over the chamber, and we started growing the chamber and making it a true chamber, I saw a lot of the growth indicators that were here, and we started trying to take advantage of those and still are. But it's still a great market for new business, and it's a great place. When I first went to Branson, Missouri, the main ingredient of being successful in Branson, Missouri was make sure your door got unlocked every morning. And then things changed when we doubled the number of hotels and the number of restaurants and so forth. Then people had to compete. And a lot of the people that had been in Branson in business were struggling. So they had to learn how to be a business person. And that's sometimes what we're going through here in Melissa. And the Melissa Area Chamber of Commerce has now provided help to help you become a better business person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well said. Yeah. I say this all the time to people, show me your mentors and I'll show you your future. And that's so true. And the ability to connect with local business owners, local leaders, people in the community, that have been here, that have maybe been through what you're going through, but also the ability to leverage. Leverage is a powerful thing, right? Somebody said something the other day, where somebody said something about, if you give me a lever long enough, I can lift the world. I forget who said that, but somebody could probably Google that up. But in general, leverage is a good thing, and being able to leverage that group, like you mentioned, of accountants and marketing people, being able to run that by somebody, that's huge. And certainly to be able to do that without having to go out and pay people a bunch of consulting fees and stuff like that, that can get crazy expensive, which is why a lot of small to medium businesses don't take advantage of it.
It's worth a whole lot more than it costs to join the chamber.
Absolutely.
We have a website that gets a lot of visitors. It has a business directory on it. So every chamber member, their contact information is listed on our website at www.melissatx.org. And it tells about the chamber, but it also has the business directory listing, and it has access to all of our events. You can sign up and pay by credit card right online. So we're moving into the real world finally as the Melissa Area Chamber of Commerce. And by the way, you are my neighbor.
Awesome!
I live across the street at Trails of Melissa.
Yeah, absolutely. We're right down the road.
You're just across the street.
Exactly. Yep, exactly.
And it is a great place to live, and it's becoming a better and better place to live. And, we talk about our schools. Not only do we have excellent schools, but we have excellent sports facilities and sports team. In fact, I saw a thing on the TV just the other night where the Melissa Cardinals are predicted to become the state champion.
Oh, nice.
They've moved up about three classes since I've been here. But, they lost one game last year and shouldn't have lost that in the regional. But and we had a state volleyball team. We've got a great array of sports activities: soccer, softball, volleyball, football, baseball, and they're all excel. And so we're really proud of our school system, and we're really proud of the community attitude in Melissa, because as you said earlier, everybody seems to be friendly because they moved out of the big town. I've had people tell me, well, where I lived, I didn't know even my neighbor, much less anybody else on the block. And now, man, I know, almost everybody in the whole neighborhood. So it is, we're trying our best to keep that. We're working really hard to keep that attitude and keep from being that cold, big city. Of course, we can't be as big as Plano and some of them because we don't have the land mass. So we're going to always be somewhat of a smaller city, and hopefully we can keep that down home attitude and down home community spirit going in Melissa.
Absolutely. Well, and it's going to be up to us, right? It's going to be up to us. And as I said in our last show, if we all lift where we stand, we all do a little bit, that ends up being a lot. And so I love being a member of this community. We were excited to make the move and have been just absolutely tickled pink since the moment we moved into Melissa. So, Bill, thank you for taking some time. You guys check out the Melissa Area Chamber of Commerce. Check out the website. Take a look at that. Look at the business directory. This is the Yellow Pages. The Yellow Pages doesn't exist anymore, right? So you got three choices. You can ask your neighbor, or you can go into Google land and you hope you find somebody that's reputable, or you can go into the local chamber and find somebody who is invested in the community, who is saying, listen, I'm being a member of this community is important to me, and they're offering a service, and then you can certainly patronize that business or reach out to them and and say, hey, I need this service or that service. And so those are all people that are involved in the community.
One of the problems that we found here lately, when you Google a business in Melissa, it gives our phone number, the chamber's phone number, because it's in the business directory, I guess. But again, because I get a lot of calls, I was calling Calhar, or I was calling Bucky's, or whatever. So our business directory does get a lot of use, and it's a great asset. I can promise you that if you work at it, belonging to the Melissa Area Chamber of Commerce is a fantastic investment for your business.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Bill, thank you so much for taking your time out of your day and spending some time with us to talk to us about Melissa. It's obviously a community near and dear to my heart. I look forward to highlighting some of your members that are, members of the Melissa Area Chamber of Commerce, highlighting and highlighting some of these incredible people that are doing great things in our community.
I look forward to working with you in the future and us getting some of our members actually on your radio show and talk about their business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Bill. I appreciate it. So listen, if you don't love your health care, if you're not just in love with how much you're paying, or maybe your employer pays a lot for your health care, but not so much for your spouse and your kids, if that's a major expenditure, or if you're a teacher, or if you're somebody that spends a lot of money on healthcare, maybe your school district or your particular company you work for doesn't pay for as much of your healthcare as you feel like they should. Maybe take a look at my friends over at Revolt Healthcare. Revolt is a really, really cool healthcare company. They have an incredible product that is, it's one that I personally have Revolt Healthcare for my family. Full disclosure, my wife Caitlin is pregnant. She's due on the 7th, so we're super excited about that. But Caitlin is we put her on a Scott and White plan while she was pregnant, but then we'll bring her back to the Revolt plan afterwards. And so we were nimble, and actually the way that I learned about doing that and learning the ins and outs of what was the best plan was just through talking to the guys over at Revolt, Mark and Ben and Stephanie and the whole team over there. So those are people that I trust implicitly. There's a link running at the bottom where you can actually go and you can submit your information. It'll email you a quote right away. Email you a quote. You can compare costs. The quote's generally accurate within about $20. And so, if you want to take a look at that, they're not an organization that's going to call you or hound you or anything, but, submit a quote. They'll reach out to you, say, hey, do you have any questions? And you can learn about their particular health insurance that they have. So feel free to reach out to those guys. Take a look at the website. Take a look at revolthealthcare.com and their website. And I think you will. I think you'll be impressed. And the other thing, if you can save $400, $500, $600 a month for what you're already paying in existing health insurance, that can be a huge savings for you each month. We're talking about, listen, between you and I, we're talking about, maybe a boat, maybe that hunting property, or maybe some extra money at Marshall's. Who knows, whatever your thing is, right? If you like to shop, or you like to, maybe money that you can then go and grow, get into a compounding interest type account and harness the power of that and grow some of this money rather than sending it out the door to major medical and to these big healthcare companies that, again, hopefully they've got your best interest at heart. But with that being said, listen, this has been the Brandon Lakey Show, brought to you by WealthWave, the How Money Works company, and Revolt Healthcare. I want to thank you guys for listening. Thank you for your time. I look forward to future episodes and highlighting more small businesses, things that matter to you, bringing you information that matters directly to you in the community, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, certainly North Dallas focus. So thank you guys so much for listening. Have a wonderful day.